Hi, I'm Linda with Star Brows, and this is my model Jen, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do eyebrows. So I am assuming that you're doing the eyebrows from home today, so I'm not going to be showing you any waxing procedures, but strictly trimming and tweezing and shaping. So the first part we start with is called grafting, and I use a method that plastic surgeons use in order to decide how the brows should be placed on the face. So when we look at Jen, we see that her face is rather narrow and her nose bridge is it's wide, nice and wide. So her face doesn't pinch in and close in here, but it's nice and wide open there. So you kind of want to look at the face, look at your face in the mirror, and see how your face is set up. If your eyes are very, very close set right here, then you want the eyebrows to be a little bit more open. If you have the eyes very wide set, then you want the brows to be a little bit closer in. If you have a very strong and pointed nose, then you want the eyebrows to be either straight across or slightly lifted, but not moving down. So you can kind of look in the mirror and see how your face is shaped, and each individual is different. So today I'm strictly going to be talking about Jen's face shape and how to design brows for her type of face, and hopefully you'll be able to adapt that and get some ideas for your own tweezing. So to begin with, the head of the brow should be placed on the nose side of the tear duct. So as you see on Jen, the head of the brow is placed fairly correctly, although a little bit shy. The head of her brow starts close to the tear duct, more to the eye side of the tear duct. So when we move into the cosmetic part, we're going to be giving Jen a little bit more brow to move in closer to that midline and start to close up some of this space. But until and if we can either grow back hairs there, which is of course the optimal is to grow back hairs, but if she can't grow back hairs, then we're going to do it with cosmetics. So the second line we're going to look at is, when does the head of the brow start to taper to the arch? So you look right outside the iris, the color of the eye, and that is the high point of the arch. So you're going to take the head, which is here, and it'll be the thickest point there, and it will gradually taper to the high point of the arch here, thinning up as it comes up here. Now if you'll notice on Jen's brows, the head of her brow is all of the same width. So again, we're either going to grow hair in the top line or in the bottom line, or we're going to have to use pencils and powders in order to create that illusion. Next comes the tail, and the tail should taper down and come out to right angle with the end of your lip. So if you come to the middle of the chin and there. So Jen, the tail of her brow is slightly short. Again, it's unlikely that she will grow back hair there. So if anybody tries to get near the tail of your brow to cut it short, be sure to move them away from that area. There are very little sebaceous glands out here, so the hair does not grow well. So I'm going to pencil in exactly what I just showed you, and I'll be back in a moment. So Jen's looking a little bit Groucho Marx right now, but I wanted to show you one of the tricks that you can do. Paint in the brow with a pencil how you want it to end up looking, and then you can come in and tweeze out the places where there are not pencil marks. So what I've done basically is I've used a very sharp pencil, and I've created little faux hairs at the head of her brow, because remember we talked about wanting to thicken up the head of the brow. So we're just going to come in and make little strokes, and then when Jen looks at this, when her brows are finished, she's kind of going to know where she needs to grow hair back in. So anywhere where there's not a pencil mark, hairs can be taken. So you can kind of see how it's going to look before you actually remove hair. And so take your pencil and slowly taper the head. We're going to try to make the tail just a little bit longer, and we want the head, the arch to be looking as high as possible. So you can only go so far where there's no hair in the middle. Even though ideally I'd like that hair to move over a little bit closer into the center, we're not going to be able to do that because you can only go so far on skin with pencils and powders, and it stops looking good. So we're going to go ahead now, and I'll be right back showing you what I've tweezed. Before you begin to remove hair, I've started to remove some of the hair after we painted the lines and we decided how we were going to go. I wanted to review with you how you're going to be shaping the brows. In terms of, the brows are sisters and not twins. So one might be higher than the other one. Now on Jen, they're pretty close, but there may be a little bit of difference. If there is, what you're going to do is begin to take more hair on. If this were the high brow, you would begin to try to move it down by taking more hair off the top. Then you would move this one up by taking more hair off the bottom. So that way you can balance them better, removing top hair on the high one and removing bottom hair more on the low one. So once you've determined, and when you do your penciling, back when we were doing the penciling part, look at that as well. So now we're going to finish the tweezing. So I've removed the hairs outside of the lines, and just as a reminder, you can take a little spoolie and look and see how long the hairs are here, and then trim them up. And also you can look down and do the bottom line. Just make sure that there are no scars or anything, because sometimes you'll need a comb over. If there's a bald spot or scar in the brows, leave the hair longer there so that you can cover it up. So now I've come back in with the powder. So we finished the tweezing part, and for some of you, you might want to use a pencil first and then a powder, but on Jen, we're just going to use powder to color in her brows. So we're going to give them a little bit more thickness in the head with our powder, and if you use a pencil, use a pencil slightly lighter than your natural brow shade, and then use a powder that's a little bit not darker, but the layering effect is really good. So getting a couple browns happening is the best and most natural way to get the brows to look good. So coloring in your brows is always a little bit shocking initially, but you probably wear mascara and shadow, and so the brows need makeup as well. So once you have the brows colored in, if you need to, you could use some styling gel. Her brow hairs lay very nicely, so there's no need to gel them into position, but a little bit of styling gel is helpful. And then use a toothbrush or a spoolie, a mascara wand to smooth it out so nobody can tell that you've used powders. So the next thing I want to talk about in doing the eyebrows is the shading. And so I'm going to get a brush, and I'll be right back.